Selema Imria. Today, we are going to be doing the new moon forecast for the lunar month, which starts at technically December 13th, Egyptian Standard Time, and is going to run us up into January 11th, sometime around noon, again, Egyptian Standard Time. Before we get too far into it, if you could do me a favor and hit the like button so that this video can be seen by more than 5 people, that would be awesome. If you like this type of thing, feel free to subscribe. I have a giant list of resources, many of them free, on my website, SumerianAstrology.com. The link will be in the description. While you're there, anywhere on the page, go all the way to the bottom, you can subscribe to my newsletter. I've sent 4 now in 2 years, so don't worry about getting spammed. And that's going to enter you to win a free astrology reading and even give you the opportunity to do some other cool things. For example, I have at this point a long list of volunteers who are going to be doing live readings with me. I actually have one ready to post. There was definitely a little bit of an echo, and it ended up being like 3 hours long. It's a synastry reading. I'm hoping to have it posted in the next couple of weeks, but it is long and it takes so very long to edit. Also did finish the Moon Pleiades article. So if that's something that you're interested in, that will be on my website. I will also be making a video about that, but that, I mean, it's 7,000 words. It's going to take forever. So if you just really want to know what the original meaning of the Pleiades were, and in some cases Taurus, if you have strong Taurus in your chart, there's going to definitely be some overlap in there, then you might want to check that article out now. Again, it's right on my website. You will definitely find it. I think that's it. All right, let's jump in. This program that I'm using is called Stellarium. You can download it for free at stellarium.org today and see all of the things that I'm showing you. As a matter of fact, you'll probably be able to see them a little bit better than mine. I have video card issues, which I talk about incessantly, it seems like. And when I zoom in on my planets, you can't really see them. But if you have a better video card, you will definitely be able to see the actual it'll show you like the moon phase, the Venus phase, you know, it'll show you even when some of these planets, it'll show you relative to where they are in the sky, what they actually look like. So that'll be fun for you. But for now, you'll just have to accept my blurry planets. It doesn't do that with the sun. For whatever reason, my sun does show up, but the rest of the planets, not so much. What we're going to be doing is looking at the actual placement of the planets in the constellations, a process known as Sidereal Astrology. We're also going to be using the original meanings of the planets and the constellations as they were in Mesopotamia thousands and thousands of years before Vedic astrology was a thing, before classical Greek astrology was a thing, before any type of element-modality system or Greek planetary rulership system ever existed. So if any of what I'm saying seems strange to you, that's what's going on. Now, of course, there is going to be some overlap, just like there's overlap in the meanings of the constellations themselves, as you will see here in just one second. As you probably know, the moon becomes new when it moves in front of the sun, not exactly in front, that's an eclipse, but it moves pretty close to in front of the sun, and then we can't see it anymore. In a couple of weeks, it's going to be directly opposite the sun, and that is going to result in the full moon. I'm bringing this up now in case I forget, because I want you to know that there's nothing bad about an opposition. As a matter of fact, one of the most powerful oppositions that we here on Earth experience every single month is the opposition between the sun and the moon. And that is when everybody claims that there's more energy and there's more power, and we definitely all enjoy the full moon, right? This is a perfect reason to just kind of scrap any preconceived ideas you have about astrology as we move into this very ancient astrology reading. I'm like 30 seconds into this video, at least that's what it's going to look like after I edit it out, but I'm already a good 15 minutes in, and I just keep having to repeat myself over and over and over again. I've probably mentioned this before, but I'm a writer and I'm in the zone and I just don't want to stop writing, and it's really, really hard to pull myself away right now to make this video. So if it's a little choppy, that's what's going on. If you're a writer out there, let me know if you feel my pain. Also, it's roasting in my house. I can't open the window because it's really loud outside. The heat in Russian houses is phenomenal. It's been like hovering at about 25 below over the last few weeks. Fortunately, there's no wind because that makes it that much colder, but it warmed up to like 8 below, and it's roasting. Like everywhere just feels super hot, like a heat wave of frigid air temperature, but it really does. It really does make a difference. It got up to 20 below at one point and we were just sweating. Okay, what was I talking about? Oh, the reason why we're using the new moon is the beginning of the month, not just because that's what the Sumerians and Mesopotamians did, but because it creates an echo throughout the entire month. And the energy that we see right here on the 12th or 13th-ish is going to reverberate throughout the month. Here we have the sun and moon conjunct in Ophiuchus. Now, this was an entity originally known as Nera. He was an underworld deity and also a servant of some of the higher ranking gods, and he was a master like all of the snake deities associated with snakes. They were all masters of healing and knowledge and wisdom and secrets of the earth and all of these things. This definitely is going to come forward during this time. As a matter of fact, we get a lot of service related energy around this part of the year. What came first? The energy of sharing and giving and festivities from Saturnalia, or was it the energy of the cosmos that shaped our human culture? I don't know. I don't have that answer. I can only speculate. You tell me what you think. Regardless, though, this is extremely close to the galactic center, that is the literal center of the galaxy. It's also pretty well in Scorpio, making this a very energetic, very creative time. Now, depending on what your chart looks like, it could make it more or less energetic if you already have strong Scorpio. I can tell you, though, that this month, with this conjunction between Mars and Aries during the time of the new moon, is going to make us all much more sensitive. Now, this can be a good thing. If you're the one person watching on Rumble, I definitely don't need to tell you. But if you're even just somewhere on YouTube, you probably know the world is kind of in shambles right now. There's a lot of violence and war and bad things going on out there in society. This type of placement can make us much more sensitive to the plight of others. As a matter of fact, Antares usually draws out the suffering of most people so we can deal with it. But this Mars placement, which is a planet of extreme sensitivity, emotional sensitivity, somewhat psychic sensitivity, these two together are going to kind of force us to take a good look in the mirror and see who we are and what we want to become. Hopefully, certain groups will take a step back and actually do this and confront this. I think that it's happening. I think that people are trying, but there's a lot of moving parts in here, so it's hard to say exactly. But with all of this going on, this will, for you as an individual, for every one of us, this will be a very sensitive time, very emotional time. And hopefully we can use this energy with Ophiuchus and all of this healing Nera energy to heal some of the emotional injuries that have been done to us, that we have done to others, and make the most of this. This entire portion of the sky between Scorpio, the lower half of Scorpio here, and also most of Sagittarius are all very close to the galactic center, which should be right about here. This entire portion of the sky allows us to connect to the cosmos on a much deeper level. We could argue, if you want to go down that road, we could argue on an electromagnetic level too. So it's something that's actually physical and tangible, not just woo. So all of the planets in this vicinity are going to awaken some of that higher level consciousness. And this happens every single year for every single person on the planet when the sun starts to move into this portion of the sky. And of course, depending on where the moon's at and other things going on in your chart, your psychic abilities and your connection to source will be more or less open than at other times. I would say this Mercury's in here too. This is great because Mercury is a very cognitive planet. It's probably the most cognitive planet. I think it kind of frees things up a little bit, not being conjunct with the sun over here. We actually got a little bit of distance with Mercury and the sun this month, but this allows for increased psychic dreaming, increased clairvoyance, psychic perception on all fronts. It should increase any vision that you have, your inner vision, while you're doing some of your deep meditation or inner work. And of course, if you do any type of creative work where you need to imagine, you're going to be connecting and you're going to be pulling the information down, which I think is part of my problem today. Also, anything that you do this month in general that involves your brain and thinking and data processing and refining information, all that is favored with Mercury in Sagittarius. If you don't know, if this is your first time watching one of these videos, this constellation was originally known as Babylonian. It meant chief ancestor, and he was the master of the skills, which is kind of why he got made into a centaur when these images got transmitted to Greece, because Chiron and the centaurs, they were like masters of the woodland and the hunt, and they knew all of the potions and the crafts and the skills. It's the same energy. Originally, Babylonian had a scorpion body, had a scorpion tail, probably came right up around here. He kind of had a head of a dog over here. He had a snake penis. He had bird legs. He was definitely connected to nature. I know my strong Sagittarius people out there, you are well aware of the nature connection, so I don't have to tell you. But anything going on in Sagittarius at any time is going to increase success, as long as you're putting the work in, as long as you are indulging in your ambition a little bit. No surprise, Saturn's still right smack in the middle of Aquarius. Saturn was originally a planet of the sun. It's what we look to find out how you're supposed to be the most successful in life. It has nothing to do with anything spooky. Most of the superstitions and negativity surrounding Saturn actually come from medieval Europe. And as you know, they were slaughtering black cats and burning witches, and a lot of weird stuff was going on during that time. So we're not going to take any of that information. We're not going to use that because it's a little on the silly side. This was Cronus, and he was the god of time, and he also ruled over the golden age. During this time, nobody got sick. Nobody died. It was awesome. It was a time of eternal spring. If you read some of the descriptions, they're basically describing the Garden of Eden. And this figure, Cronus, ruled over that. The Roman version of Cronus was a deity known as Saturn. And like Cronus, he was a god of time. He was very fatherly. There's a reason why they considered them synonymous, because he was very, very similar. The Roman Saturn was celebrated every year, right around this time actually, in a festival known as Saturnalia, which was a time of drunken revelry, and people were singing songs, going door to door, bringing people gifts, and just generally making merry. Does this sound familiar? So the old fatherly Saturn became one of the early templates for a figure we now know as Father Christmas. This is because the Romans, after they converted to Christianity and started taking all of the pagan stuff, they figured this out early on. They would take the pagan stuff and they would switch it over to the Christian version. And they did the same thing with Saturnalia, which was why they took what they believed Christ's birthday to be sometime in June or something like that. And they moved it to a date closer to Saturnalia. So it went right through from the 17th to the 23rd. So like a good week of just merrymaking. So when you celebrate Christmas, just know you are taking part in at least partially a very ancient pagan tradition. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That doesn't hurt my feelings. You do what you want to do. The point I'm trying to make is Saturn is not bad. It was never bad. Yes, there are a few places in the Babylonian literature where they do describe Saturn as a destroyer. However, all of the planets, save for the moon, all of them had their scary aspects. This was not anything unusual. They were all capable of something good or bad, depending on the circumstances. Bringing this up because Saturn is still in Aquarius. And in my opinion, this is actually a really good thing. This is spurring a lot of our innovation in technology. It's opening up the door to communication. And this is going on for a while. As a matter of fact, while I'm here, let me tell you exactly how long this is going to be going on. As you can see, it really started to move into this side of Aquarius. Now, this fish of Capricorn is associated with Aquarius. It's a little bit associated with the fish of Pisces too, but either way, we're still getting the same innovative energy that comes from Aquarius. So I'm going to keep going. As you can see, it's going to go in, it's going to go back because it's going retrograde, and let's go forward. It's going to come back, and we're here to 2024, but it's not leaving just yet. It's going to hit the middle portion over here in the sky, and then it's going to pop back out. It's going to go retrograde, back and forth, until finally we're really breaking away spring of 2025. This interim period, I mean, this is totally has nothing to do with this month, but this interim period here where Saturn is shifting out of Aquarius and into Pisces should be interesting. Saturn brings with it, because it is slow moving, the energy that it brings with it. I mean, it's wide reaching as far as what this can do for us. Now, what I am going to do, let's go back a number of years. Am I centered? Yes. I'm going to go back in time. And as you can see, it's moving. And the last time that it was going through one of these innovative periods was right. We really started to get it early 1992. And that ran us right up until probably mid 95-ish. What happened just before this time? Probably no. Maybe you know. But just bore, what do we want to say? 1990 is really, I think, when it started, but that was when the internet kind of came online in its modern incarnation. And over the next few years, it became available to more and more people. And it was during the period of right up until like probably the 95 period where it really started to take off. Now, you probably didn't have the internet during that period, but other people had it. Universities were using it. Like, it was around, even though it wasn't really in everybody's home until the end of this period, but that really didn't matter. It was this process that really kind of kicked everything off. And we can see the same thing, these innovative periods, if we go back all throughout history, you can see it. But we're not going to do that today. Let's go back to today. So anyways, Saturn's right in here. Now, what we will see is during this period, there is a big technological transition. It's happening behind the scenes. Most of it's going on outside of the mainstream right now. I suspect this has a lot to do with AI, but around the end of 2024 into 2025, that's when we're going to start to see the main shift where it comes into the mainstream, and something's definitely going to change after that, but we'll have to readdress that as it comes, I guess. So be sure to subscribe. Same thing, kind of. I mean, with Jupiter, Jupiter's been in this portion of the sky for a while. It's been going retrograde and coming back out and so on and so forth. While this is here, this is an immeasurably creative time. This portion of the sky, this figure right here, Ketis, she was the primordial mother goddess, and from her, all of the cosmos was born and created. We are looking at chaotic creation, maybe darker, scarier creation, not the type of creation everybody's comfortable with, but too bad here it is, and it's been here for a little while. Jupiter's placement here does bring out a lot more of the dark creative energy. So Jupiter was Marduk, and in the Babylonian myth, Marduk is actually the one that slays Tiamat. It's a whole thing. He basically wants to become the leader of the pantheon, and so he agrees to kill her. And from her corpse, he kind of stretches her out and creates the firmament for my flat earth people. But if you read the text, I mean, it's really describing he's creating the fabric of space and time. It's not great for Tiamat, obviously, but this is great for you. If you want to create a reality in your life, if you want to create a new universe, which you can absolutely do every single moment of your life, secret to that, create from your heart. Not from your mind, not from your body. I mean, you can do those things too. That's all great. But if you really want to change your reality, the quantum reality that you are operating in, that's going to come from your heart. Speaking of hearts, Venus, which is very much a representation of our heart, not always the good stuff. Sometimes it's the bad stuff too. Sometimes it's deep despair just as much as it can be bliss and all wonderful things. But it's very much empathic connections, for better or worse. It's right here hovering between what are originally the claws of the scorpion and one of the deities that eventually became smushed in together as Virgo. This is actually a really good placement for relationships, as well as healing anything in your finances and your physical body. I mean, this is a really, really good placement for everybody in general. If you're an entrepreneur, if you have to network for your job, if you have to build relationships, beautiful. This is fantastic. All in all, a much better month than the last couple of months, probably. I think we're really out of the danger zone. So far, I don't see nuclear holocaust, but let's go ahead, go day to day and see if we can't identify any global cataclysms or worldwide financial collapse or something along those lines. That would be good to know, right? So we're just gonna go day to day here, and we are going to follow the moon. In ancient astrology, we would track the moon as it moved to see which planets and stars and constellations it was activating. Hopefully this isn't moving too fast. This is the horizon that's kind of spinning around, so you guys will have to forgive me if that is making you dizzy. But basically the moon is moving into Sagittarius. Well, it was moving there on the 13th. Now, at this point on, go ahead and pause, somewhere between, let's back up a little bit, really heavy yesterday. I know, like yesterday by the time this posted, I don't know what day that will be, but on the 14th, this was really activating that Mercury. So if you look back, you'll probably see that your mind was just going and it was racing, especially if you already have strong Sagittarius, Scorpio, maybe something going on with this entire portion of the sky. You probably noticed this all the much more. If you didn't notice it, probably just has something to do with your chart. I wouldn't worry too much. Obviously, this is a very general forecast. We can't know exactly how things are going to affect you unless we were to compare your chart to some of these. So just keep that in mind. And that is probably going to continue, probably continuing now, which I would definitely agree with. And let me see. So we're going to move us through most of Sagittarius, and we're going to go into this little void portion of the sky where we get most of the overlap. And we really come out of the ambitious side and start going into more of the, well, maybe still a little bit ambitious, but definitely more of the love and healing and nurturing that comes with Capricorn. Capricorn is the most nurturing of all of the constellations. There is nothing cold and domineering, nothing about that. That all comes from the erroneous Greek element-modality system and the planetary rulership system. So we don't put too much stock in that here. Now it starts to move into the fish of Capricorn, which is, both of these are very maternal, but the fish is a little bit more spiritual, and we start to move from the material world nurturing into more of the innovative side, the more, I don't want to say just spiritual side, because I mean, you can have this energy and these thought processes, and even if you're an atheist or something, like you don't have to be into spirituality to feel these things or be affected by them. So that's going to already start to pull in a lot of this Aquarius energy. Obviously Saturn in Aquarius is going, hopefully you can see the date. Let me move this over to make sure you can see this. This is already activating Saturn. It's waking up Aquarius. It's giving us all the ability to communicate more. Now, you may find yourself a little chattier during this time. If we're trying to make peace, if you're a diplomat or something, it's probably a good thing. We definitely need more of those people out there, but your communication should be better. You should find yourself wanting to share intellectually, maybe share some of your art or music. Please, if you're a creative type, please, please, please take advantage of this energy, because something profound and phenomenal should be occurring during this time. It's going to peak probably on the 18th. And then we're obviously going to be moving into the void space, this overlap place between Aquarius and Pisces. Now, again, this was Enki. He was the god of the fresh, fertile waters, and his sacred animals were fish. So we do still get Enki energy over here. All of the fishes are going to, on some level, relate to Enki or Nanshe, who is the goddess, who's basically who we're looking at over here. Now, in some ways, she is similar to Tiamat, but she was very altruistic. She was very giving. All of her temples were dedicated not just to helping her priests gain psychic powers and those type of things, but also she was the matron goddess of all of the infirmed and orphans and widows and all the people who were in need. Strong Pisces in your chart, just so you know, will ensure that those altruistic tendencies have to be fed in your case. So just something to keep in mind. But this is going to affect everybody during this time, which, as you can see, this is a giant constellation. And so it's actually going to be a number of days while Pisces is waking this up. Obviously, any karmic relationships you have during this time are going to be kind of maybe a little bit more of a focus, but your psychic ability should be more enhanced. And again, any type of spiritual work you're doing is favored while we have the moon in Pisces. Now, as it starts to go into this fish of Pisces, this one over here was originally a bird, but this one right here was probably always a fish. And this is when we really start to get this Ketis energy. Now, if you watch my videos, you've probably heard me say this before, but if you're new, you may not know that I don't talk about Aries very much. That's because Aries is a tiny little constellation. It is probably a very late addition to the zodiac, and the creative, powerful energy that people associate with Aries is actually coming out of Ketis and this fish of Pisces. This is all very, not necessarily dark, but I mean, it can be at times. But this is deep, primordial mother goddess energy. It has nothing to do with this little Luhunga, which just meant hired man, and he was just this little guy that came in to babysit the sheep in the springtime. All has to do with this deep maternal energy. Now, as you can see, on the 22nd in particular, the moon is conjunct with Jupiter. Everything the moon touches is magic, essentially. But Jupiter, anything Jupiter touches, oh, it's perfection. This is victory. This is success. This is power. This is all of us who want to take advantage of this energy, stepping into their power, especially the creative power. This can result in some really intense romantic experiences, some intimate experiences. But for, again, any creators out there, anybody trying to manifest something, this is just the power time. This is magic. And as the moon starts to go into Taurus, we are going to get this, in particular, the conjunction with the Pleiades it's looking right about on the 25th. Now, if you've read my article, which you probably didn't, because you probably didn't know it existed. I don't think did I tell anyone that I posted it yet? Probably not. I didn't send it in the newsletter. So again, if you're worried you're going to get all these emails from me, you're definitely not. But Pleiades is traditionally associated with some pretty scary stuff. There's a reason for it. It's all explained. I'm not going to go into it in this video, but it is associated with new beginnings. Not all of them are easy and soft and subtle. Sometimes they come crashing down, like dropping the hints as best as I can. If you need a new beginning in life, this could be it. I mean, it doesn't mean it's going to come in a nice way. It could come in stressfully a little bit, but this does wake some things up, especially if you already have a lot of Taurus in your chart. Do they all feel this? No. But if you have strong Taurus, you're more likely to be influenced by this. But all that aside, while the moon is in Taurus, we're all getting more of a sense of service. We all we find ourselves wanting to help other people. This also stimulates our cognitive ability. We start wanting to learn. We maybe start going down the rabbit hole. So all in all, I think this is a really nice placement for this time of year. People are starting to go into the secular new year, at least in the West. And so there is a really big association with newness and beginnings. Now, are you going to start your new year on the 24th, unless that's your birthday? Probably not. You're probably going to wait till January 1st, but I'm telling you this as somebody who loves you and cares about you. The calendar new year is meaningless. Somebody with a lot more money and influence than any of us just decided one day what the dates of the calendar were going to be. You know, energetically, spiritually, it really doesn't do anything. Okay. If you really want a new year, your personal birthday is your new year. This is This is when the whole cycle restarts, which is why we look at your solar return when we are doing predictive astrology. If you need a starting point, if you need a day, I would, at the very least, I would use the new moon. If you are in certain parts of India, or you have your reasons, whatever those may be, maybe you want to use the full moon instead. Not really about that. The full moon is much more a culmination of energy as opposed to restarting, but that's just me. Do your own thing, but let me just tell you, don't get hung up on the new year, the calendar new year. It's meaningless. And I'm telling you this too, because if you put too much faith in it, too much stock in it, and then you blow your resolutions, I mean, you're just going to wait till the next year, right? You're just going to try to start over later. The best time to start was, yesterday, the day before, any other time. Whatever you're trying to accomplish, just do it now. Quit thinking about it. But again, if you want to take advantage of some of these energies, use your birthday or use the new moons, in my opinion. So as you can see, the moon is going into Origa, and this is basically similar energy to down here in Orion. This was the true shepherd of Anu, and this is leadership energy. It's protective, it's guardianship. It is not having a tolerance for injustice and things like that. So you may have a, what's the word, a lower bullshit tolerance. Can I say that? Is that unprofessional? Now, this entire portion of the sky is getting pulled from all four directions. This is a very chaotic portion of the sky, and there's a lot going on. Generally speaking, they do kind of overlap. This is going to be a little bit more service. These two are going to pull more leadership out. Still get some of the leadership over here, but it starts to soften up and it becomes more about the emotional connections. Now, Gemini's association with air, in my opinion, is silly. It has nothing to do with air. These figures right here, whether they were brothers or they were soldiers, they had deep love and affection for each other. We know that they were Lugalira and Meshlemtai, who were basically versions of Nergal, who enjoys the best long-term stable relationship, emotional relationship in ancient mythology, despite him being the god of war, death, and pestilence. So we do have really powerful emotional empathic energy floating around in here, and this moon's presence in Gemini is going to kind of kick that up another notch. So if you do have strong Gemini in your chart, be advised that from, what is this, the 27th to like the 29th, this is probably when we're going to feel this most intensely. This could be a really sensitive time for you. After that, into the 28th, the moon's going to go into Cancer, and it's going to wake up probably a lot of our subjective thought. Now, this is a fantastic time to meditate. You actually may need to meditate during this time because your brain's probably going to be all over the place, especially if you have strong Cancer in your chart. This is because this portion of the sky right here was literally the entrance to the gates of the underworld. Strange that it's actually in the sky, right? It's a whole different conversation. But the underworld is also the inner world, the deep, dark place inside of you where all of your demons are hiding, all of the stuff that you bury that you don't want to deal with, and you suppress under all of those surface thoughts so you can stay busy and stay distracted, right? Well, this is the time when those things threaten to come up and start to eat at you. Again, this comes from a place of love. Take the opportunity to deal with them. Deal with your darkness, your shadows, your demons. Just face it all, be fearless, and be done with it so that those things don't have any more power over you. Start to move into Leo on the 30th. And as this is happening, it should lighten up quite a bit. Leo is one of the constellations that's similar in modern astrology to what it originally was. Yes, there's a reason why it's a giant feline. And yes, if you know anything about cats, there are certain cat traits that are universal in the feline world. Among them is they are very playful. They like to have fun. If they're not altered, obviously they're going to like to procreate and, have the intercourse and whatnot. By the way, these all peak kind of right here on the 30th while the moon is conjunct with Regulus. But this is going to open the door for a lot more fun, and it maybe not necessarily the adventurous type of fun, although it's not a bad time to go on vacation or go on an adventure, but it's definitely a little bit more intimate during this period, and whether that is personally, professionally, platonic, like whatever it is, romantic, it's just going to increase the sensitivity in the interpersonal experiences between you and other people. See, so we're going to move through Leo right up until, we're already going to start to feel that Virgo energy into the second, but as the moon goes into Virgo, which is a giant constellation, this is a fantastic time to really start to ground yourself and focus on your body, your finances, and that in particular is going to peak as soon as we get this this conjunction with the moon in Spica, which looks like it's going to be probably closer to the 5th. You know, if you only do the bill paying thing once a month or something, like this might be a good time to do that. If you're waiting to purchase something or make some investments, I would definitely consider this conjunction as you do that. Now, as the moon moves into Libra and gets closer to where it started from, we are starting to become a little bit more social. We start meeting new people. I say meeting new people. If you don't leave your mom's basement or something, obviously that's going to be a little bit trickier for you. Aside from that, other people, you may find that you're a little bit more social. And even if you're not social going out social, you may find that you're interacting with people more. You're building some relationships, making some new friends. It's a great time to socialize either way. If you run your own business and do anything in the entrepreneurial sector, or again, you network and that type of thing, this is going to serve you quite a bit. So if you can go on some conferences or just generally take advantage of that energy, that's probably best. I do want to say though, that most of the current Libra associations have to do with this being this picture here, the scales. These were not originally scales. These were the claws of the scorpion, and they had everything to do with shoving food into your face and hunting and killing and getting the food to shove into the face. The way that humans shove the food into the face is we go to the grocery store and we buy food from other people. And while we're out there, we make sure that we don't make anybody too mad, so nobody, comes after us and takes us out. So yes, while we are interacting with other people in society, it is incumbent upon us to not beat anyone up and not get ourselves killed, right? All of these supposed non-confrontational energy associated with Libra, because we want to be loved and we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Doesn't have anything to do with that. It's all this primitive instinct not to get yourself killed and still go out and feed yourself and procreate and, rinse, lather, repeat. If you're saying, well, I'm a Libra and I definitely don't like hurting people's feelings, yeah, that's probably coming from somewhere else in here. You may be a Libra closer to the Antares, in which case you're going to be dealing with a lot of sensitive people. And so you're obviously going to have an instinct to try to heal people. All of this Ophiuchus energy is all healing. So that could be it too. You may have very strong Venus, very strong Gemini. There's reasons. It's not just because, I had a whatever in Libra and that means I'm not confrontational. I promise you there are other reasons. And if you don't believe me, feel free to schedule a reading and I will demonstrate that for you. Speaking of Antares, this was the Lisi goddess. She was known as the lamenting goddess, and she was known to be able to soothe the hearts of angry deities. And as you can see, or can't see because of my video card, the moon should be. Oh, is it going to do it? I don't know. I can't tell from this. Probably not. I would say we're close to an occultation of Antares by the moon, but I don't actually know if it's going to be. Probably not. I'm going to say no, but it's going to be really, really close. So if all of the broken people come out of the woodworks during this time, that's what's going on. If you're one of the broken people, hopefully you are seeking help and you are getting counseling or whatever. This is actually a really important time for breakthroughs, especially because we have this conjunction with Venus. This is going to awaken your empathic ability. It's going to allow for deeper emotional healing, physical healing, miraculous healing if you're doing your inner work, right? So definitely take advantage of that. And all of it as it's happening is all, we have, as you can see, Venus here and what would have originally been the snake legs of Nero. He was holding two of them like this. And then the moon is going to be conjunct with Mercury and basically Mars and the center of the galaxy right around, it's on the 10th. So a little bit on the 9th and into the 10th is really when it's going to be the strongest. Everybody's psychic perception should be awakened during this time. We should all be very sensitive. We should be getting visions. We should be seeing some amazing things in our mind, body, and heart. So please do the inner work. And then that's going to run us into the next month. Okay, so then right here on the 11th, we are going to be conjunct with the sun again. Remember this conjunction, which supposedly lights everything up and makes things so much easier and brighter and whatnot. This conjunction is actually blocking out the light of the moon, just so you know, just to drive that point home for you. I'm going to go. This video is going to take forever for me to edit. So hopefully I will get it out to you by the 16th. You'll have to, we'll see what happens. I'd love to get it out today. I just don't know that that's going to happen because it's for real going to take forever. But if you like this video or you didn't like it, either way, drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought about it. Otherwise, like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. And selema.